Hey guys, what's up? Gil here. As you know, the podcast is sponsored by Yellow Jacket, our good friends over there. So I wanted to sit here and drop a little knowledge on you. So shut your mouths, open your ears, and take a listen for a second. People, all the time I'm getting messages about leak detectors. Which one's the best one? What should you use? Blah, blah, blah. Guys, I have been known publicly on the podcast and YouTube talking about how much of a fan I am of the H10. And it's still a great product. But guys, I gotta break it to you that the Yellow Jacket UV leak detector, this thing when it comes to 410 is fucking badass, guys. You have got to check it out. I have used this thing personally. A friend of mine has one. He raved about it. I used it before I was even affiliated with Yellow Jacket. And this thing is awesome, guys. I mean, this thing finds leaks, faster than anyone that I've seen. I know there's some other people out there that rave about this thing. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get one from Yellow Jacket to actually do a review on the YouTube channel. But guys, if you are in the market for a leak detector, check this thing out. It has a good price point. It's cheaper than the H10. I have not used it on 22, so I will say that first. But when it comes to 410, this thing is badass, guys. So if you're in the market for a leak detector, check out the Yellow Jacket UV leak detector. It's the newest one on the market. You can always go to Yellow Jacket, www.yellowjacket.com for all of their products. If you guys have a problem, any questions, you can always email me and Kelly at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook, private messages, and we'd be more than happy to help you get in touch with the right people. So guys, always remember, Yellow Jacket, 66 years of expertise built into every tool.
Why did you start your service business? Was it to make more money, to take more time off? Have you ever noticed that the majority of business owners never get to the point of getting more money and taking more time off? And the e-myth, the American dream of owning your own business, being your own boss. Have you ever noticed that the majority of people just never make it there? Have you ever wondered why some do make it and why some don't? Guys, I started my business in 2008, and by 2012, I was worn out, beat up, struggling in my marriage, and ready to quit. So I decided to, instead of quitting, I decided to go out and learn as much as I could about business and running a business. And so I went to the different people within our industry and learned as much as I could from them, and different other business gurus, and then I put all of that stuff and wrapped it into a program. It changed my life, changed my business. We started seeing some success from the things that I've done. And, to be honest with you, some of the stuff in there you've probably already heard. You may even be able to teach this stuff better than me. You've either watched a YouTube video on it, or you've read something in a trade magazine. But I can promise you there's content in there that you haven't heard. And, when it gets to be the time that you're tired of struggling, tired of digging yourself in a hole that you just can't get out of, and you just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe it's time for a change. So if you want your situation to change, and anything that I've said sounds like you, I want you to check out www.hvacserviceready.com and check out Core Business. It's going to teach you the fundamentals, the foundation that you're going to need to build for your business, so you can build your culture, so you can have a vision, have a mission, and be sure to tackle that mission and conquer that vision each and every day. So check it out, Core Business, at www.hvacserviceready.com. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen, and God bless the USA.
If you're trying to take your HVAC game to the next level, then buckle your seatbelt, crank up the volume, and try not to be offended, because you're listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast with Gil Kelley and Kelly McKay. Now, here's Gil and Kelley.
What's up, everybody? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God, you guys are too kind.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 8 of the HVAC Uncensored podcast. We are happy to be here. As always, I am sitting across the internet from my main man, Kelly McKay. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well. Gil, how are you, man?
I'm good, bud, man. I cannot complain. The weather here is kind of goofy. Um, I'm happy football season starting. I know I don't think that you're a huge football fan. I am, so I'm excited about football season. The weather, service has been kind of like here, like up and down, but enough to stay steady. But for some reason, we are finishing out the summer on a fucking install like roller coaster, dude. Like, I mean, well, I don't want to say roller coaster. It's not up and down. I mean, like installs out the fucking wazoo, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but I mean, obviously it could be better, but it's just I'm surprised because normally the end of the summer people are like, "Fuck it, we'll just wait." But that's not the case here, man. How's it going with you guys?
And with school starting up, it seems like asses pucker up a little bit when school season gets closer. But we're slow, without question, slow. So we are going back through our list. Now's the time to like heavily outbound, heavily dig into all your invoices. If this has happened to you, sooner or later you're going to have a little downtime. It usually lasts for 2 or 3 weeks after summer ends. I know some different regions, like down in Texas, for instance, they're still mid 90s. But we are like, and we're going to see mid 90s this weekend. So I'm happy for that because that will spur some more business. But we're definitely slow, and this is something where in the past I would always panic at this time of year, just start panicking. But I'm not going to do that this year.
Yeah, no, you definitely can, and you're right, and that's something that you learn over time. You kind of gain that wisdom because you know that you can't panic. We have been lucky, like you said. This has been a fucking amazing summer. Me and the owner were just talking about today, and he even said that this has been an awesome summer. So, for us, not too soon, but maybe like the next month, maybe like end of September, we can start PMs. I know the girls in the office are getting that kind of stuff scheduled, but we got to stay at least steady enough to last till then because we can't be doing, it can't be 80 degrees outside and we're
Right.
doing, furnace startups. So
Right.
far we're good, but I just hope it stays this way. Uh a funny story I'll tell you. We my the guys went to do an install yesterday, and one of them calls me and he goes, "Gil, I don't know what to do." He's like, "There's bed bugs all over this place," and I thought he was
Oh
just
my goodness.
exaggerating. Yeah, he sent pictures, and it was like an infestation of bed bugs. I was like, "Get the fuck out of there, dude!" I was like, and he was supposed to come
Yeah.
meet me. I was like, "Yeah, no, I don't want you coming to meet me." Thank God, the owner decided to send another guy to meet me. Thank God, because I didn't want. That's the
Yeah.
last thing I need to do is bring fucking bed bugs home with 4 kids. That would have sucked.
Yeah. Those fuckers are hard to get rid of, big time. So you don't want that shit.
Yeah, no, I've heard some people that have been through that, and that's a fucking nightmare. They can keep that, but guys, like we've said in other podcasts, like Kelly said, man. So depending on your, geographical region, location, coordinates, vector, if you're really busy right now, then hey, be thankful and knock those calls out. But if you're in a location where you're starting to slow down or your weather's kind of iffy, you need to take advantage of every call that you get, man. So for some of you guys, at least got people in my region, it could slow down for a little bit, where guys are going to have trouble getting those hours. Hopefully it'll last until PM season starts, but make sure all those calls are counting. And like one thing our owner always preached to us, even since I was a peon, and he's always said, if you want hours, create work for yourself. Make sure that you're out there doing your due diligence on these calls, for like the coils having to be cleaned, the blower wheels, etc., stuff like that. And obviously, if work's starting to dwindle, but you're out there producing all this work, obviously they're going to send you back. I mean, at least we do it at our company. We're not going to be an asshole and let one guy keep producing work and then send him home and give it to somebody else. So just think about those little things, when you're like, fuck, man, I don't got hours. I got to get sent home. Well, at that last call, was there a bunch of shit you left on the table? So just
Yeah.
dig down in yourself and just make sure that you're doing everything that you have to do to create work for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. That's what been watching Joe Crisera since I found him a few weeks back, and that's one of the things he says. You got to fight for each call. So why should I give you another call if you're not making the most and leaving money on the table every time you go into a home, and you're not coming up with all these different. If you're not coming up with more solutions to solve for the homeowner, because let's face it, every home you go into, there's a ton of problems with. You just got to seek them, find them, offer solutions. But this time always comes as summer winds down, and this year I was way more prepared for it than I have been in the previous years. Um, which so we use House Call Pro right now, and for our dispatching and our invoicing, and you can go in there and create tags. So every customer that we went in and had to add refrigerant to, I tagged that customer as low, so that way I could come back this time of year, pick through those. And now, just today, we sent out out of 131 people, 31 people were either like bullshit calls that we're probably not going to get anything from, and we know that we're not going to get anything from, and be able to upsell or do what needs to be done for them. The other 100 calls, we were able to put together a mailer. My general manager put together a mailer, and we sent those out today. So we mailed out 100 mailers to try to spur some business, and then next week we're going to follow up and call those people. So it's all about follow up. And if you find yourself in a position with not enough work, go back through your invoices for June and July, and pick through those. And each one that you find that is there's a possibility that either A, you were too busy to do a leak search, or B, you did a leak search but nothing happened, offer a deal for those people. Give them 10% off a coil replacement, or for us, just tell you what we're doing. We're going to do a free leak search in hopes that one or two people will actually allow us to go ahead and fix the system, whether it be we may find a leak outside and be able to fix it right there on the spot, which is revenue and work, or we may be able to sell a coil or a coil and condenser. And sometimes those turn into full systems. You never know. So kind of a lost leader type thing. We're going to give that service away, and in hopes that enough people will allow us to come perform that for them. So even if they do nothing, they'll know next year what needs to be done, and we'll know too. So before next summer, if they just choose not to do something this year, well, that's work that we can probably bank on next spring.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Let me ask you this. Have you tried my grading system?
Have not.
Yeah, that's
not. That's something that we'll probably have to do on the front end too.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. It's actually the front end is actually the biggest part. It's almost like what we talked about last week about implementing a process and somebody following it. So, yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, we've gotten a few things like that. We'll send out different mailers, and the other thing that I realized, and there was some, where we had like given out quotes for systems, earlier in the summer. And you would think like those people went with somebody else. Sometimes those people didn't. They just didn't make a decision, especially the people who their systems were running. They weren't like forced into buying one because it was broke. Don't assume anything. A couple of times we've called those people and they're like, no, actually we held off. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can do it. Maybe I can give you a better price. Like, can we, revisit this topic? And they're like, yeah. And a couple of times we've been able to get sales out of it. I mean, worst case scenario, they're going to say, no, I already got it done, or hey, I already got it set up with somebody. and it's a 5-minute phone call, or that phone call could turn into a $10,000 or any kind of sale. So sometimes now is when you gotta do that little kind of work where you gotta pull your pull your pants up, tie your shoes, and start pounding the pavement. You gotta do what you gotta do. Pick that phone up, make some phone calls. So I know not everybody's going through that, and if you're not, then hey man, enjoy it. I know our buddy down in Texas is booming. That guy's down there rocking and rolling, man. So um,
But I will second what you said as far as the summer being great. It has been a phenomenal summer. We've made more money this year than we've ever made, and there's profit, and it's a really good feeling.
yeah, no, it is. And to be honest, when you have a really good summer like that, it gives you a little bit more confidence and it puts you at ease a little bit more going into the winter. Especially like you said, now when you got a little slow time, you feel a little bit better than if it was a shitty summer and now you start getting slow and it's like, well, fuck, what do I do now? But knowing that you had a good summer, you're like, all right, oh, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's, hey, being a weather-based business, guys, that's what we got to deal with. The demand's got to be there for us to be able to supply. So if there's no demand, then there's not much we can do.
And to a certain extent, I don't care what anybody says. You can market your ass off and you can stay steady, but there's no question you're going to have. We always have the chaotic moments throughout the hottest part of the summer and the beginning of summer when everybody's turning their units on. But no matter what, you're going to have a little bit of a valley. I just don't think there's any way around that. I hope to be proven wrong someday. It's not that you can't stay busy. I'm not saying stay busy, but you will see a dip in revenue. Even if it's small, you're going to always see dips in revenue if the weather's not cooperating.
Oh no, you're 100% right. And I'll say that I don't care where you live. Everybody's going to have dips. Granted, where your geographical location is, your dips might be at different times of the year. Like here, normally Maryland, we have actually, like I've said before, all 4 seasons. So we know when our dips are. So maybe somebody in, Texas or Florida might have their dips at different times than me because of their weather and their seasons. But I agree, everybody's going to have dips. There's no geographical location that's just balls to the wall fucking 365 days a year. I just can't imagine that that's anywhere.
Yeah, I can't either. That's why we always make the most out of what we got. But that's funny that you said that earlier, Gil, about making the most out of every call, because soon as we realized that the schedule was lightening up, we brought everybody into a meeting Monday afternoon. Well, actually, it was last week. It was like Wednesday afternoon. Brought everybody into a meeting. And I'm like, okay, guys, it's time to get back to our roots, get back to the processes, and be sure to offer those options every single time, and make the most out of every call. And the guys, when you have a good culture and a great group of guys, they make shit happen, and they've been making shit happen. It's just, I've got a couple of guys that stayed busy all day long, and then I had some guys that stayed busy through the morning, and they went out and scrapped for a while. So we have a few little things that need to be done still, and I'm going to make sure that they continue to get their hours, because we will transition into preventative maintenance here before too terribly long. But and like I said, we're getting another hot spike of weather, so that will spur some business as well.
Yeah, and another thing, a different aspect of this, and I'm only speaking from personal experience because when I was, and I'm far from old, but I've been doing this so long that when I first got into this trade, guys, you need to learn how to be good with your finances, because the fact that we are a hit and miss, up and down kind of trade, that yeah, you can be making bank in the summertime. You're getting those, $2,000 a week checks or $1,500, whatever it is that you're making. But don't be going out, buying new trucks and splurging in the summertime. Put some of that money away for when it does get slow, or wherever you live when your slow time comes. Because I used to be that dumbass, man. When I was younger and only had like maybe one kid or just 2, and it wasn't really that bad. Dude, I used to splurge. I used to spend money like that shit was growing on fucking trees, and I learned the hard way, got myself into credit card debt, and thank God that's all in the past. But, make sure you're good with your money, because we can make good money in this trade, but the fact that it comes in bunches, you gotta know where to put it and stuff like that to be able to plan for those times. So that way, when it does slow down, you hear some of these guys like losing their fucking house. And I mean, I know that's dramatic, but I can look through my phone. I've had stories of guys tell me that they went through situations where stuff like that's happened, and they've had their car repossessed or something like that. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So just make sure you guys think about that aspect and you know how to plan your finances.
Every spring, there's 2 things that we talk about in meetings for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. One is put the money away. Don't pretend that this is your new pay level, because you're going to be getting all these overtime hours and bonuses. And the second one is, what do we say? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So we have to pace ourselves. So, but yeah, we have that conversation every spring, Gil, and I'm sure you guys are the same. We help. We don't want to see any of our coworkers go through struggling times because they started, adjusting to this new money that is not year round.
Yeah. Pace yourself, honey. You're gonna choke. You read that old Adam Sandler thing.
Oh God, that was the greatest.
Did you play with this cock and balls?
Did you play with this cock and balls?
Oh, geez.
That was great.
But
it was the goat one always killed me.
Yes.
It fucking superimposed me.
Yeah. Fuck him in the goat ass.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough with goat asses. But yeah, guys. So we're just trying to give you a heads up, man. It's just mistakes that me and Kelly have made. One thing before we get on with the show, I don't want this intro dragging on too long, is another thing that we have done is, and I know it sounds gimmicky, not to flip-flop topics here, but I guess this is more for like business owners or, employees can take it to your manager or whatever. But, like send out like some like back to school flyer. Like, hey, we know that you have a lot of money going out to your kids going back to school, blah, blah, blah. We want to offer you this special, for a cleaning, a heat exchanger inspection, a humidifier, whatever the fuck you want to offer, but just some kind of little gimmick to get your foot in the door, because a lot of the bigger companies, at least around here, that's what they're doing. They're sending some kind of gimmick shit out just to get their name out there, because people aren't thinking about heating yet, but we want them to think about it now, even if they call and schedule it and it's not till September. So I don't know, just a little something I figured I'd throw out there real fast.
I'm still stuck on the Adam Sandler shit. do you remember the goat when he's like, and he's like, "Ow, fuck me in the goat ass. You really whizzed that thing."
Oh yeah. Oh God, I'd never. Oh man, listen to those tapes. I remember listening to that. And yeah, those. And did you ever watch the CKY videos? It was like Bam Margera and them before they became famous.
I'm sure I've seen some of them. Yeah.
Oh God, those videos. They did the same stuff like they do on Jackass, but it's before anybody. I mean, yeah. Bam was a skateboarder, but nobody really knew them like Jackass, and they they hit this lady's car, and she's like, "You hit my new car." He's like, "It's a 96." And then when you watch the video, it's so funny to look at his face because the lady's so pissed, and she's like, "You hit my brand new car. It's a fucking 96." It's so funny. But oh Jesus. All right, man. Enough with this 26-minute intro. Fucking Kelly never shuts up. So
yeah.
All right, Kelly, you ready to move on, my friend?
Let's do it. Let's go make some money.
Let's go make some motherfucking money.
Now, here's Go Make Money with Kelly McKay.
All right, that's enough. That's enough. So, um, if you've never looked into Brian Tracy's stuff, he's a longtime sales trainer, time management trainer. Some of his older YouTube videos on sales are just phenomenal. But one thing that he says is to use what he calls zero based thinking when you're analyzing your business. And you have to determine basically what he's saying is we got to use baselines. We have to determine exactly where we're at. The next thing you're going to do is determine where you want to be, whether it be 1 year, 2 year, or 5 years ahead. Then you got to determine how you got to the point where you are today. What are some of the strengths and weaknesses that got you there and your organization into the position that you're in? And what steps will you take to make the changes to get the business to where you want it to go? And it always helps no matter what it is to get a baseline reading. Think about it. If you're going to, let's say, what's the first thing people do when they decide they're going to lose weight? Probably going to weigh themselves. That's a baseline. You're getting a baseline so you know what you weigh now before you start the process of trying to lose some weight. Well, it's the same with your business. If you want more service calls, you got to know how many calls you're currently doing.
Or you can just have surgery. Sorry.
Yeah, you could do that. Enough of that. So you got to get baseline. So if it's a case of any problem within your business, like KPIs for technicians, so you want to know how many callbacks are happening. And now we all know that sometimes we're going to get callbacks, and it's not always, sometimes the callbacks are good because we documented on the ticket that, hey, this run capacitor was reading negative 15%, and it's supposed to be plus or minus 6%, but they chose not to replace it. Then it fails 2 days later and you go back out and have to replace it. That's a good kind of callback because it was documented. I'm not going to dock my technician for having to go back to that when he recommended the repair. But the legitimate callbacks where there was something that was missed for whatever reason, those, it's easy to track those because we're not doing them every single day, thank goodness. And maybe if you're to a point where you are doing it every day, well, then I suggest you work on some processes and some more training for your people. But bottom line is you get a baseline and then you try to improve on those numbers. What gets measured gets managed. That's the bottom line. So you just got to start somewhere. And that's what he calls zero-based thinking. There's a couple of questions you can ask yourself. What should we be doing more of? Which means what's currently working for us right now. And then what is no longer working for us right now? And what should we stop doing? The third thing is to maybe start something new or different. Get out of your comfort zone. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And the fourth thing is you can just flat out stop doing some activities altogether, which we've all done this. If you own a business or you manage anybody, you implement a particular process or procedure or task or system, and you find that it just doesn't work. So then you just stop doing it. Are there any of those right now in your business that just aren't working? Maybe you got to go back to the drawing board and start over. So just some things to think about. It's just a great way to think about anything, honestly, that you want to change. You always got to start with the baseline. Just remember that one thing. If you remember anything from what I'm talking about here, start with baselines. Where are you at right now? Then determine where you want to go and measure it.
Yeah, when you talk about callbacks, I know you gave a lot of great information there, but callbacks just stuck in my mind. I know that, like you said, some callbacks are bullshit. They're going to be, like, to be honest, I had one like a week ago where I go out and I know that the blower motor is overheating and it's shutting off. It's just when I'm there, it just happens to be working because they left the unit off all night. And I was there like 8:00 in the morning. And I tell the customer, hey, this blower motor's overheating. I can tell it's got high amp draw. It's going to fail. You need to replace it. Oh, well, we're going to wait till it dies. They call back later that afternoon. So technically, when they call in, the girls in the office put callback. And technically, they're correct. It is a callback. But that to me, as long as, like Kelly said, you document and you say this, this, and this, and the customer doesn't do it, and then they call back, then I guess on paper, but that's not a legitimate callback. But if you're having like actual callbacks on something that you missed or you fucked up or something like that, then that's different. And to be honest, my owner doesn't do this. He's cool. I mean, he pays guys to go back out on callbacks depending on the customer's reaction when they call in is whether we'll let the same guy go back out. If the color customer calls in pissed, then we'll send somebody else out, just thinking maybe it's a better situation than sending the same guy. But they definitely, guys, callbacks, and I know we've talked about this before, man, but those callbacks can fucking destroy a company, man. I mean, for example, we've had a couple where customers have paid, like $1,300, and then you get a call back, and these people call in like, I just paid you $1,300 fucking dollars, and now my unit's not working. The other thing is that's kind of affiliated with callbacks is if you guys, and I'm gonna say this situation, and this is a situation that we had, and the guy's a good guy. He just had a lapse in judgment, and chalk it up as one of those brain farts. But the ticket was like $1,300 and something dollars. He went out, he did like a indoor outdoor coil cleaning, blower wheel cleaning. I think it was some refrigerant, a hard start. I think like locking. It was a whole bunch of stuff, but it was like $1,300, and apparently he did everything but the blower wheel cleaning. So he's out there for like 4 hours. The next day, the customer, or that night, the customer calls in, hey, my system's not working. She's pissed. She just spent $1,400. It's not working. I go out there the next morning. I check it out. The indoor coil is fucking disgusting. There's a piece of paper stuck in it that looks like it's the same paper the fucking Declaration of Independence was written on. So I know nobody's been in there. So needless to say, the coil wasn't cleaned. The guy got busy. He said he sprayed it from the top, but pretty much he got busy and didn't do it. He should have had enough time to do everything, but that's one of those times he had a lazy moment. And I know this guy personally, and like outside of work, and he's a good guy. He had a lapse in judgment that one time, but that right there can fuck a company. Say they got pissed, and I know they wouldn't because they just spent $1,300, but say they called somebody else to come behind us, and then this company comes out and says they didn't clean your coil, and then they're canceling their fucking credit card or canceling their check. And now I had a guy out there for 4 hours, and we're not getting paid dick. So I didn't mean to go off away from that right there, but that's just something that happened not long ago that I just wanted to say. So just be careful when you're out there, guys. And when it comes to callbacks, but I was going to say, when it comes to callbacks, I'm a firm believer that, if a guy has enough callbacks, that he should go back. He should be in his van, but depending on what it is, that time should get eaten.
Or pulled out of the field and trained. I eventually want to set it up in my company where you come out of the field and you get trained, more training, even if that's just me spending time with you one-on-one, just to make sure that we're doing always what's right for the customer, because that's what we all want. And sometimes it's just, an oversight. Sometimes it's just laziness. It just depends what it is, So just something we have to always be aware of. And that's why tracking these things, because here's the thing, before you start tracking things, you may have a feeling or a notion that somebody's not performing to their full capability, but you don't know. And it's just a feeling. You don't have any hard actual data saying, look, you're not performing the duties that you're hired to do. And so that's why it's so important to have KPIs, however you have to get them established. And you can decide exactly which KPIs that you want to when I say KPIs, I mean key performance indicators. It's just, the key things that your technician or your manager or your installation crew, the key things that you expect them to do, making it very clear with them exactly how you want it done, and the outcome that you ultimately want, the result you want, and then measuring that however you need to.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, man. Just like Kelly just said, take your time. Like we talked about last week, go with the process, go through the call, take your time, be thorough. And normally when you're thorough, you're not going to have callbacks. But hey, the best of us get callbacks. It happens to everybody, but it has to be few and far between. When you have a technician who, once a week, couple times a week is getting a callback, or say out of every 10 calls, he's got at least 2-3 callbacks. That's a problem. And I agree. That's when the guy needs to be pulled out of the field and properly trained, especially if they're, to see what kind of issues they are.
Right.
Are they callbacks because it's laziness? Are they callbacks because he doesn't know how to do it?
Is he getting in a
is
hurry?
it callbacks because he's rushing? Yeah, exactly. Guys, you got to take your time. I mean, obviously you want to be efficient, but the only call I worry about is the one that I'm on. Because it's not fair to that customer if I'm trying to rush to get to the next one and then get there and rush to get to the next one. That's providing a fucking shitty service. Obviously, you want to, like I said, you want to be thorough and get the job done and do things in a timely fashion, but you can't be trying to rush through them. If that's a job that's going to take a long time, maybe that's the one that you got to get it up and running, or, call your office and communicate. Hey, I got a problem out here. It's I'm going to be out here for like 3 hours. I got to do, A, B, C, D. And maybe we're going to switch this schedule around so everybody meets their appointments and stuff like that. Communicate. It's amazing how much communication can help those kind of issues. But when you just don't say shit to anybody, you're out there for fucking 4 hours, then you call in, your schedule's already fucked up the rest of the day. You've said nothing. You go do the rest of your calls, and then that customer you were at for 4 hours calls the next day with a callback. That's no bueno, guys. That's the kind of shit you can't have.
No, you can always, if you've got an extremely heavy day in service, you can always, if you get to a particular call, if you can leave it running safely and at least giving them some cooling safely in a safe manner, that's not going to cause future issues or water leak problems or freeze up problems, potential damage causing problems, then you could always put that off, as long as you communicate that with the customer. Look, Mrs. Smith, we're going to have to come back. I don't have time to clean your evaporator coil today. Maybe it's just a fucking bitch to get into this particular, or maybe it's in the attic and it's 110 degrees outside and it's not safe to get up there. Whatever the case, you can come back, come back on a morning where it's cooler and get up there, at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning. That way it's safe while you're up there to get her fixed back up. But it's all about communication, like Gil said, and just always doing what's right with the customer, for the customer.
Yep. And don't ever be afraid to say you don't know. My owner he's beaten to my head for as long as I've worked for him. Within 30 minutes, if you can't diagnose the problem, call him, call your manager, call your boss, call a senior tech that you can call. Because if you don't have a roundabout idea of what's going on within 30 minutes, that's a problem. Most residential systems, within 30 minutes, you should know what's going on, or at least dialed it down into a certain vicinity. Like, hey, I got a low voltage short. I just got to figure out which wire, or something like that. Within 30 minutes, if you're still sitting there scratching your balls like, I have no idea, then you need to call somebody. Maybe it's over your head. And that's fine, especially starting out. If you don't know, do not be afraid to say you don't know. Your manager is going to be happier if you call and say, hey, boss, I can't figure this one out. It's over my head. They'll tell you, hey, go ahead and get out of there. We'll send, fucking, Billy Bob Thornton over there to do it. And then maybe when he's done, you guys meet in the office and he goes, hey, man, when I was out there, I found, the common wire, the yellow wire outside on the contactor was shorted in the contactor. I changed the contactor, and that's what it was. Where blah blah blah, and you learn from it. So, but anyway, that's about all I got on that topic.
No, let's moving on.
Hey, that's my line. Moving on.
Now time to say what with Gil Kelley.
Hey, Gil Kelley. I know that guy. He's awesome. That's yours truly. But all right, guys. In the say what this week, I want to talk about something. That I guess it's something that is very fresh in my mind, if you want to say. But and it kind of goes into what we were just talking about, and I had to hold my tongue to not say it then. Callbacks and stuff like that. But it is when most guys hear about a water leak. They're like, oh, fuck yeah, this is simple. I can go out and blow a drain and fucking roll out. Guys, water leak calls, and I know I've said this on previous podcasts before, but I'm going to say it again, is, guys, water leak calls, you've got to treat seriously. That's more important than, the outdoor fans not running. That if you have water damage, that can just make a bad situation fucking worse. Sometimes it's not just blowing the drain out. Take your blinders off. Look at the whole system. We had one where one of our guys went out to this call twice. It's a system in an attic. The system it was fucked from Jump Street, but he blew the drain out, rolled out. He did make some recommendations. So that's one thing I am very proud that he did. He did make some recommendations. The owner asked, did he recommend a wet switch? And he didn't, only because it has one of those like Goliath drain pans that you got to have like that
switch,
special float switch that like slides into the slot or whatever. Yeah. So that's the only reason he didn't. But, so anyway, they call back, same problem, things leaking again. He goes out, blows the drain out, fucking rolls. I go out today, I walk in and I'm fucking, my jaw drops because I'll post these pictures in the group so you guys can see. Water damage fucking galore, guys. I'm talking, a whole wall is chewed up. There's fucking leaks all over where this shit is like hit joists and just had a fucking field day going all over the place. Not to mention as an older house in Baltimore, which the thing looks like if you get a good gust of wind, it's going to fucking blow down the hill anyway. But we got lucky because apparently, other guys in the past have documented in their tickets and this damage was there before we had ever went out. But if it wasn't documented and they weren't thorough in their tickets, we could have been fucked paying for all of that. But needless to say, what the problem was nothing to do with the drain. I checked out the unit. The unit had tilted backwards. So the water in the drain pan could never get to the drain. It was running out of the back panel of the coil going into the auxiliary drain pan. And that as well was tilted down, running over that back corner because it couldn't get to the drain on the other side. And it was just running down on the floor. One good thing we had going for us is this customer, even though they knew it was leaking water like a sieve, they never shut the unit off. So I told him flat out, I said, well, I mean, if you know it's leaking and you don't shut it off, then you're kind of accepting whatever damages that it has. Me and Kelly were talking earlier. I said, I told him if you have a pipe burst under your sink and water's gushing out, are you going to shut the valve off? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, okay, then why wouldn't you do that here? So we got lucky, but I just want to tell you guys, especially young guys, you got to be careful. So this has a couple of things. Being thorough in your tickets, make sure you write everything, even those monotonous things that you think don't mean anything. There's a dent on the wall or there's this. Write that shit down because who knows, a year, like in this case, 6-7 months later, that shit comes into play. Make sure you're offering things, even if they don't do them. Make sure you offer it, and you've got to take water leaks seriously. Those things can, if you go on anyone, especially any attic system, needs a secondary, float switch. Has to, mandatory. I would put one in the drain, in the main drain as well. And around here, I'll let you answer this, Kelly, when it gets to you, man. Is around here, if you have a secondary pan, code is you either have to plumb the drain in or have a secondary float switch on it. Us, we do both. We plumb the drain in and we put a secondary float switch just for, for safety. Because, dude, guys, that can cause so much damage. You roll on a floor and the goddamn ceiling falls through. I mean, I know my owner has shelled out some serious cake to fix some things over the years that could have been avoided.
Yeah, we put a primary.
Go ahead, Kelly.
On the primary drain line, we always put a safety switch, just one of those float switches, and then we use the hockey puck in the drain pan itself, and then we just cap the drain pan, and that always passes our inspection. So that's how we've always done it. I can't even tell you exactly what they want, but they're always happy with that as long as there's a secondary drain pan. But we go to homes all the time that don't even have a fucking secondary drain pan. We're like, what the fuck? Who the fucking installed this? There's so many. Not even going to get into that subject, but yeah, you got to stop water leaks. You got to make sure that wherever that water is going to go, because I've also seen where the drain pan's not completely underneath the coil, to where if it did start leaking, it's going to leak out over the side of the drain pan. So we got to make sure that it's where it needs to go and in the right position, and it has safety switches on it. And I actually made a video. It's in HVAC Service Ready program about how to wire a wet switch, because I'm just a simpleton when it comes to wiring and shit. I've just learned everything out in the field. And I hate the fucking instructions that come on the wet switch. They always confuse me. Always. So I can always figure it out, but I decided I'm going to make a fucking video about this. So I made a video, and then Gil was talking about it when he was giving us a tour of the studio in the Facebook group about doing a video on wiring that same wet switch. So I'm curious to see how you wire it versus how my video came out to wire it. But ultimately, it's going to get you the same result, which is a working switch.
And those switches are badass, man. They're very sensitive. We found that if we ever go to one that's tripped off, unless you have a heat gun to like dry that thing out, a lot of times we have one on the truck out of the box that we'll just switch it out and then just take the other one and put it on the truck because they are sensitive.
Horrible directions.
Yeah.
Horrible directions that come with those fucking switches.
Horrible.
Pisses me off every time I fucking open that shit up.
Yeah, well, I have it. It's funny, written right up here on my whiteboard, video, like you said, about how to wire that up, because when you read the directions for that, they're telling you you're breaking common. And I'm like, well, what? Who the fuck breaks common? But we won't give it away, but you watch the videos that we have coming out, and I'll simplify that switch. It's really it's really not much to it once you simplify it. You can still wire it like any other switch. You just need a power source. That's pretty much all it comes down to. And then it's got a normally open and a normally closed switch and a common port. So you're either going to wire it to either where it's normally closed or it's normally open. When that thing's going to shut off.
It's got more than that. It's got that remote. You could put a remote sensor on it. A remote. What do you call it? A remote sound station or something. It's got one for an alarm and maybe one for an LED or something. I don't know. You wind up capping half the wires off and just don't even use them.
Well, maybe that's not the normal ones that we use. The normal ones we use have 5 wires where you have I know there's ones that you can have additions onto it, but the ones that we do, you have a wire, you wire up red, you wire up common, and then you have white, orange, and green. I'm pretty sure it's green is the common side of your switch side, and then white is normally open and orange is normally closed. So normally you cap off white and then you can take
Right.
green.
I think you're right.
Yeah, you take green and orange and then you just wire up your, if you want to break Y, then break Y. You want to break R. That's just your switch circuit. But I do know that there is a lot of, they have came out with accessories for that to be able to add circuits to it. And you can wire it where it's normally open, so it closes rather than open up and turn something off. It closes and sets off one of those sound alarms or something. So
Yes.
those things are nice, man. They really are, and they're sensitive. So if that thing senses some moisture, it will shut the fucking unit off without a doubt. Don't get me wrong. It's better than just a normal, little styrofoam end float switch, the ones you get, like fucking $10.
Yeah. No, they're really nice switches, but try finding a YouTube video for that, wiring one of those up. The YouTube video sucks ass. Along with a shitty wiring diagram, then they send the YouTube video for that switch. Like I've watched that video. It's a piece of shit.
Well, that's where we come into play, my friend. So we need to hurry up and get our videos out.
Yeah, sounds
But
like it.
yeah, you need to take this blue wire here and find the other blue wire, and you put a wire nut on it. Then you're gonna take this red wire here, and you're gonna stick it up your ass, and you're gonna cough 3 times. Then you take the green and blue wire, you put it together, and then you call Billy and say, fuck you and your sister, and then it works. Yeah, no. They're very simple, guys.
Stick this one in your mouth. Wait, no, stick this one in your mouth. Or once again, Idiocracy.
Well, no, it's the old play
it,
switch.
Watch Idiocracy if you haven't seen it. It's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I think we said deja vu.
You don't know what I'm talking about, but...
I don't. We've had this before because you did another pun from there one time, and I was like, "Oh, that's so I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, sorry.
I need to watch that so I know, man. But yeah, we used to have where it's called playing switch. You put one thumb in your mouth and one thumb in your ass, and then you switch.
Yeah,
switch them around. But in case you guys don't know, and they're not up yet. You guys know that I had some time off with my mom, so I'm kind of a little bit behind, but I have a bunch of videos in the editing process that I've shot. But on our YouTube channel, there's going to be a couple of new series coming out, and one of them is going to be the New Tech Chalk Talk series, where I'm going to be I have a big whiteboard here in the studio where it's going to be going over some different things, how to wire a contactor, a capacitor, a wet switch, just simple things that, the advanced guys are going to be like, I don't need to watch this shit. But it's aimed towards the newer techs, just to show them some different things and how I do it. But I want some of you senior guys to come in because, hey, I'm not saying that I do it perfect. Maybe you guys can come in and be like, hey, Gil, I do it like this, just so we're giving these younger guys the best knowledge. And then there's also going to be the versus challenge where it's going to be like a product versus a product. I'm going to put a bunch of products up against other ones and actually doing things head to head so you can see it. And I don't want to get off of water leaks, but that's something I want to say real fast. And I know Kelly has talked about it. Guys, and I don't say this because Kelly is my friend and he's the co-host of the show, but if you guys have not checked out his programs, the HVAC Service Ready, guys, you need to check it out. And I know Kelly's not a multi-millionaire to where, people go look at this, but dude, he's put a lot of time and effort and his money to be able to gather some of this information that's involved in these programs. And everybody that I've talked to that Kelly has given away one for free, you ask them and they fucking love it. I mean, Kelly's given me one. Some of my guys have it. And it is an awesome tool. And for the price, man, for this same kind of stuff that you get from these bigger names, you're paying fucking quadruple for it. So trust me when you say, man, check out Kelly's program, HVAC Service Ready. I just think if you guys, matter of fact, I forget what it costs for the first month or whatever, but I'll challenge you guys to this. If you guys go and you try it, and after the first month, you think that, hey, this isn't for me, I want you to contact me and we'll work something out. If I got to give you the money back, I'll give you some shirts, a product, something, because I just know that you guys are going to like this product. So,
Oh no, I have
um,
full control over that. So you just reach out to me. You send me, if you decide to try it and it's just not for you for whatever reason. I had a guy that looked into the marketing program and he didn't actually like. I wish he would have stayed stuck with it, but he watched just a couple of videos and he's like, I didn't want to learn just about general marketing. Well, I get into way more than just general marketing if he would have finished the whole program. But I wanted everybody to get a good understanding of marketing before I got into that stuff. But anyhow, he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, this isn't what I thought it was, Kelly." I'm like, "No problem, dude. I just refunded his money. It's no big deal." So you can email me. I mean, there's a link within the program to email me, and just email me. It's no big deal if it's not what you thought it was or what you wanted. But I want to clarify the HVAC Service Ready is that particular program is for like a young tech or somebody getting into the trade who just wants to learn more about airflow, about all the aspects of residential heating and cooling. Super Service is the program that will change your business, change your income, get you bonuses, get you noticed. So that program is maybe for the guys who have been already been doing it for 5 years. And then I have a couple of programs on there that are strictly for business. So Core Business is a really good program. It'll help you, um, you know, build the foundation like we talked earlier. So I greatly appreciate your shout out, Gil. I didn't. He just did that on his own. I didn't ask him to do it, and it's definitely appreciated. I have spent a lot of money, time, energy into it, but I'm not going to sit here and beg for it to be sold either. If it's not for you and you don't want it, don't get it. It makes no difference to me. I just want to help somebody who's maybe searching for something that is affordable and that and wants to move the needle for their company and their career.
yeah, no, you're welcome, man. And I did. I said that on my own. Kelly didn't know I was going to say it. I just spit it out there just because I just I've seen that. For one, I know how much work Kelly put in to make that, and then I just know that if people actually see it, that they're gonna see the value. Like, fuck, man, this has a lot. I mean, if you're a new tech, you should be eating this shit up without a doubt. If you're a guy that you've been in for a little bit and you're good on the technical side, but you're having trouble keeping your average invoice up or different things, dude, check these things out. They are worth the fucking money. As far as I'm concerned, they're a steal. Um, to get the same information from one of these big guys, you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna pay so much. But yeah, man, you're welcome, bud. I think that's the least I can do.
You can cancel your membership too. If you get into it and you're like, "Hey, this isn't what I thought it was. This isn't for me," and you're just not going to use it and utilize it, well then just cancel your membership and the program that it just cancels the monthly payments, no big deal. But the other programs are just a one-time fee. Um, Everything except for HVAC Service Ready is a
Oh,
one-time fee, and then
nice.
you just own it.
Well, I want a refund. Oh yeah, never mind. Sure, I didn't pay for it. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I get it. Yeah, it was free. Here's the thing about free shit is when you get something for free, there's no value in it. So what I found is when I do give stuff away for free, um, I can go on there and I can see who's been in there and I can see what percentage of the program has been gone through. And 9 times out of 10, when I give something away for free, if you don't pay for it, you don't value it. This is just money. An exchange of value. So I can give them away for free all the time. Like this one particular guy that reached out to me on the marketing thing. I refunded his money, no problem, and then I signed him up for everything. And I said, "Hey, check these out. Maybe if there's one thing in there that just can help you, or help you move the needle, or something you might want to learn, you know, take it as a gift from me because I just want to help anybody I can. Because, like I said earlier, guys, I've been through hell with my business, and I had to learn a lot, and these programs is a lot of what I've learned, and I'm continuing to add to them. I'm getting a lot busier on my YouTube page as well. So be sure to check that out. Got another video that I'll be releasing tomorrow, which would be before the podcast comes out. But anyhow, enough of that. Are we going to answer some questions?
Yes, man. We finally got some questions from some of our buddies on Facebook. So me and Kelly are going to finish it off once again with a Q&A. Let me see if I can find the right bumper for this motherfucker.
And now, Q&A with Gil and Kelley.
Oh, yeah. First try, bitches. Yeah. All right. I think I need a...
That's professional shit right there.
Yeah, we don't do our bumpers in post, baby. We do that shit live. It's called high tech, motherfucker. All right, yeah, me and Kelly, I'll start off and read one. And, I mean, we're already at an hour, so we'll just read a couple of these. But one that I wanted to do that kind of hits close to home, and I think this guy said it was okay to say his name, but he is, matter of fact, I'm going to state that now, guys, that if you don't say your name, if you don't say not to say your name, then I'm going to say it, okay? So,
ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technological difficulties.
What we have here is failure to communicate. But this is Mr. Kenny Parmalee, and his question is, he says his original question, because I answered back or asked a question back. It says, here's a topic I really like some insight on. How do you hold techs accountable for call? Oh no, that's not the one that I wanted. Where is he?
I think it's a two-part question.
Yeah, here it is. The second part of it. We already really talked about callbacks per se. Let's talk about drugs and the reality of it. Your top A team member, what do you do? And I said, well, what about drugs? You mean like finding out one of your best guys does drugs? And he says, yes. Say you're not batting 1,000, landing techs. You have somebody who's been with you for a long time and starts slipping up. You could fire him and lose your main guy who can't be replaced immediately. Or do you work with him and gamble? It's a big gamble. Well, Kenny, first of all, thank you for your question, brother. I appreciate that, your support. Guys, like I told you, so I'm kind of on both sides of the fence with this because what's up? All right, guys, I'm going to answer this question real fast. So I'm on both sides of this where, I've been that guy that's been the fuck up and I've had somebody believe in me. Granted, they had to fire me to get me to come back and stuff like that. But I do think people deserve second chances and you can help them for them to get the help they need. But on the other side of it, you have to realize that, okay, that guy, you want to help him, but he wrecks your truck, gets in an accident, you get sued in your small business, your company's going to shut the doors, man. So it's going to have to be a situational basis that, I guess, how far gone that person is, if they're at the stage where they want help or they're still denying they have a problem. So it's something that's going to be situational and you got to be careful. You got to be careful, guys, because even though that you want to help that person, you have to think of the big picture. And is this going to ruin my company? Is this going to be something that's going to make me shut my doors? If I have other employees, is this going to shut the doors to where they can't feed their families? So that's what you got to be careful. And yeah, that guy might be important, but if your doors get shut down or you get a lawsuit, it doesn't really matter how good of a fucking worker he is. So I hope that helps, Kenny. Thank you, buddy. Did you want to go ahead and answer one, Kel, or you just want to go ahead and close this out?
I'll just say on the drug thing that I've seen it with I would never name any particular names, but I know it seems to get even if they pass a drug test when you hire them, it seems that it just progressively gets worse. And what I found is that they their priorities get rearranged, and once that happens, it just no longer works anymore. And but I could never prove it without sending them to go get a drug test. And let's face it, there's enough stuff out there right now that just about anybody could pass a drug test. So It's not that I would have been able to find anything anyhow, but um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. That's unfortunate, and I feel for you because that's going to be a heavy toll on you to lose one of your primary sources of technical help out there in the field. So that's a tough one.
Yeah, but I can say, think about it like this, man. And guys, and a lot of you guys that know my history, man, I used to be a drug addict. I was a recovering addict for a long time. I know. I have like 8 years clean. And I say that in hopes that it'll help somebody. And when I got fired the one time, it helped me so much. It's a fucking wake up call. So by firing that person, they might not see it at the time. They might say, fuck you and call you every name in the book, and they're not going to see it. But then down the road, they're going to be like, man, thank you so much for doing that because it helped me. And it might take them years before they see that it was the right thing to do. But trust me, it's the right thing. And I'm going to say this real fast. And I've said this. I think I actually said this on a podcast that we didn't put out. If there's drug use in the trades is very big. It is. Guys, if any of you guys are out there suffering from any kind of substance abuse, whether it's drugs, alcohol, PTSD, depression, and you need help, guys, get the help that you need. I am no fucking expert on the subject, but fucking message me. I'll talk to you. I'll be somebody that's like out of the picture who has been through it, just for somebody to talk to. But guys, trust me when I say that. Talk to somebody. Try to get your problems taken care of, man, because I am lucky to still be here today, and I have buried too many fucking friends, man. More than I would like to remember and more than I like to count. I got tattoos of people on me that are gone, and I'm getting sick of tattooing myself. I'm sick of burying people. I joke around a lot, but that's something that I'm very fucking passionate about, guys, and it stays with me. So yeah, I didn't mean to flip it that way, but I wanted to say that, man. Anybody out there, man, if you guys need help, if you're going through a battle right now, make sure you talk to somebody. And if I can help in any fucking way, I swear to God, fucking hit me up and I will help you in any way that I can. So,
but Nick Guerrero has a question. Gotcha. I currently work for a commercial only company, and I have a contract that I am the primary tech. I do the PM every 3 months and come back with a list about a mile long with needed repairs. I give the list to my office to be quoted and to the head of maintenance at the facility. When I come back in 3 months, I find some repairs that have been made, but not by my company. Now my question is, how as a manager or company owner do you handle that? From my perspective as a technician, although I'm not the one doing the repairs and making the money for my company, I'm staying employed 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, so it really doesn't affect me one way or the other to a degree. So I'm not 100% sure how to answer this. He currently works for a commercial-only company. He has a contract that he's the primary tech. So he makes a list of repairs, then finds that some other company's doing the repairs. As long as it isn't affecting your bottom line and what you bring home, I don't think I'd worry about it. It sounds like you're still getting your hours and everything, so I don't know how else to answer that.
the only thing I could say is, is your pricing too high?
Sure.
Are you pricing yourself out of a job? Because obviously, if you're the ones out there doing the PM, they value what you do to an extent. But they must just say, hey, these guys are good at telling us what's wrong. We just can't afford their prices to fix it. And if they're giving you some kind of legit contract where you're out there as much as you say you're out there, then maybe you need to flat out ask them, like, hey, I've just noticed that other people are working on this, equipment that we're working on. Can I ask why you don't go with us? And sometimes they're going to tell you, hey, we like you guys, but your price is too high. Okay, well, hey, can we work something out? And maybe you can. To me, that's what it's going to boil down to. If they're letting you maintain and, give a list of repairs and somebody else is doing it, I would think it's boiling down to your price is too high. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was wasn't looking at it at that perspective, but yeah, just have a flat out conversation with them. Say, look, I found that this part needed to be replaced, and I came back to do the PM, and I'm finding that it was replaced. Is there a reason why you didn't let me go ahead and replace it? Just have that conversation, see what comes out of it.
All right, here's a quick one, and it's from our buddy, Mr. Josh. 2 minutes or 2 cents in 2 minutes, Mr. Josh Rodriguez, and you probably be good at answering this question, Kelly.
Maybe.
He says, when is it time to hire and fire people? And I said, you mean like what season or with an individual employee? He says, no, I mean like if the company is growing, when to hire. When is the time to fire, and how much is enough? I guess I'll be real fast, but to me, you can't grow your business if you're doing the work. That's just my personal opinion. So I understand everybody's got to start out where you're the one in the truck. It's kind of hard. You don't start out when you got 4 employees. So if you're getting to the point where you're doing the calls, you can't do all the calls, you have more work than you can handle, then it's time to hire somebody. You need to hire somebody to lighten that load. And your objective needs to be slowly to where you have guys working in the field that you can trust. And it's hard, but you have to take that risk sometimes. You have to. And I don't think it shouldn't always be like family or friends. Sometimes you need to take that risk of just finding someone so that you can, not saying you can't do calls, but you need to have times where you're in the office to be able to actually see the numbers and see what's going on from the big picture to be able to make your company grow. And Kelly actually said this the first time I ever talked to Kelly when I interviewed him on the other podcast. And he said that one of the first things you need is a good accountant, just to make sure your money's squared away and stuff like that. But I'll let you take this, Kelly.
So I'm not great at answering this particular question, but I can tell you when it comes time to firing somebody, as far as how busy you are, because I think that's what you're talking about when it comes to fire somebody. If you're losing work, for one, if they're a really great person that you want to continue to invest time, energy, and money into, then I would lay them off. I wouldn't fire them. I would lay them off, but and hope that they don't find somewhere else to work in the meantime. But if they're extremely great, I mean, you gotta weigh your options. If it's somebody who is worth the time, effort, energy, if there's one thing that I've learned, especially in the last 3 years, it's that because of these peaks and valleys that we have, it's so important to have a line of credit. So I'm going to advise, Josh, that you go out and get a line of credit if you don't already have one. And like for me, I just took it out on my, I have equity built into my home. So mine is actually just tied to my home, but it's there if I need it. And last winter was so bad, and we were so slow, and we did not have a good previous summer, that I had to draw on that line of credit. But this is also the point where it's so critical to know what you did last year. So last year, in August, in September, October, November, and you want to go back like 2 or 3 years and be able to see, what did I do this month? What did I do this month? What did I do this month? What did the sales look like? So I know when my peaks and valleys are, and that's how we base our monthly goals. We base them off of the past history, and then where we're currently aiming for to end at the end of the year. We adjust that for each month, because it just depends on the month. It always does, but history will tell a tale. And it's so important because, if you're really, really slow, let's say in April, but May was just like your biggest May ever, and this is coming, but you're having a hard time just making payroll, well, do whatever it takes to make payroll, because you're going to start making money in May, and you're going to need all hands on deck when that time comes. So I would say definitely do that. When it comes to hiring somebody, I've heard different just flat out numbers thrown out there, like how much would if you're going to pay somebody $50,000 a year, how much work do you actually need to make that 50,000? And Gil may know this number. I don't know it, but um, my first shot in the dark at it is going to be somewhere around, if you figure what your profit margin is, you got to figure that in and figure what your overhead is for a particular department. If he's going to be going into the service department, figure that stuff in and figure, it might be he's got to bring in $150,000 in order for you to pay him 50. But that's where good financial people can help you answer these questions, just like Gil said. So I hope that helps, Josh. And best of luck to you, buddy.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. It's definitely a question that is to each his own. And just real fast before, I know we're getting on an hour and 20 minutes, but how much is enough? If you can keep them busy, then that's enough. And obviously, pretty much in my mind, in the summertime when you're busy, you want to be kind of stretched thin. When you're busy in the summertime, it shouldn't be that you just have, oh man, you need somebody right now? I could send this guy. You almost want to be where you're stretched and your guys have to work a little bit of overtime, so that way when it starts to slow down, then you have enough work to keep those guys busy. So if you have guys in the summertime that aren't getting 40 hours, then you have too many guys. That's just my opinion. Because we don't ever want to have to lay somebody
Here's a
off.
great way to know
Go
if
ahead,
you're
Cal.
overstaffed or not is to take your revenue, then take, basically the revenue for the percentage of the total revenue for your company when it comes to labor in a particular department is, we shoot for somewhere around, we like to see it 25% or less. Now that's not always a possibility, but no more than 30%. And that's like total company wide labor. If you just take your what was paid in payroll versus the amount of revenue that you produced as a company as a whole, and then you figure out what that labor is as a percentage to your revenue, what you paid in labor as a percentage to your revenue, you want to keep that like the lower the better. And you'll find that when that gets out of whack, you stop making money. Like your profits go away. And that just means that you're overstaffed. So that's when you've really got to manage your labor going into slower times. I've learned this, just in the last year. It's critically important. So that's a KPI that you really can track easily. And we shoot for we want like 25%, but there's weeks where it's horrible. But the thing is I know why it's horrible. It's like, okay, well, we had that one slow day or we didn't make that sell or whatever the case. And the bottom line is sales cures all. As long as you're making sales, it cures all of these things. So when sales slow down, that's when these things pose as an issue and a problem. So really watch your labor as a percentage to your revenue and keep it as low as possible. No more than 30%, and 30%'s a little too high.
All right, that's good. We're gonna have to start to cut this off, guys. We're going a little long on this one. Real fast to Curtis Bowers. Yeah, I got a topic for you. I was born. Why was I born a man? I want to be a woman. They have procedures for that, Curtis. Okay. Okay, Caitlyn Jenner. So talk to your therapist and get your balls cut off if you need to, Curtis. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and close this thing out, Kel.
Guys, thanks so much for the support. Sorry we went so long on this one, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Kind of making up for the week that we missed due to me being gone and Gil's mom, which I think your mom's doing good, isn't she, buddy?
Yeah, she's good now, man. We dodged a bullet, so we got lucky. Yes, she's
awesome. Good. Thank goodness. So, okay, guys, but we need to wrap it up. Thanks so much for listening. It's been great. Be sure to check out HVAC Millionaire and HVAC Uncensored, both on YouTube. Try to have fun while you're going and making money. Peace.
Yeah, guys. Hey, remember, man, You can check us out on Facebook. There's Facebook Uncensored group. We're on Instagram. Like Kelly said, check out both of the YouTube channels. And if some of you guys missed it, we have a website now, www.hvacuncensored.com. It is up. It's constantly growing. We still have tons of things to be adding to it, where that's going to be our homepage, links to everything. We're going to be having a shirt tour going up with stickers, all the things that guys have been asking. That's all in the works, guys. That will be up there. So we thank each and every one of you for your support. You know, guys, go out there. Please be safe, be careful, and always do what the next guy won't do. Thanks, and we appreciate you. Peace. We're out of here.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.